If you've been wondering how to find the best keywords for your children's book and why it really matters to the success of your children's book, then this video is for you. Hi there, I'm Evie, an award-winning children's author and ghostwriter over on eviejones.com and the creator of Children's Book University. I create videos specifically for children's authors, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss my weekly videos. In this video, we're going to see what keywords are, why they are really important to the success of our children's book, the 4 main places we should make sure to use our identified keywords, and the 5 main ways or methods to go about finding the best keywords for our children's book, and how to know whether or not our chosen keywords are actually any good. And in the very end, I will share my 3 favorite tips regarding keywords that I wish someone would have told me when I first started out. In many of my videos, you may have heard me talk about keywords before. But what are they and why are they really important to the success of our children's book? A keyword in its simplest terms is a word used to describe something, right? So in the author world, keywords help describe our book, indicating its topic so that they are easier to categorize. Nowadays, for better or for worse, we make many of our purchases online. We also do most of our research online before we even decide what to buy. And because of that, it's very important to present our book in such a way that a search engine can find it. And when I say search engine, I don't just mean Google. I'm also referring to online platforms like Amazon, because Amazon is essentially a search engine, right? Because when I'm looking for a specific book, I use Amazon's search bar. So if I'm looking to buy a book, let's say about monkeys, but I don't have a specific book or author in mind, what I do is I simply perform a search by entering words or phrases that contain the word monkey. So monkey then becomes a keyword. So thinking of Amazon as a search engine gives us such an advantage because we as authors now understand that the information we provide about our book during our book setup will be used by Amazon to help its algorithm decide whether or not to put it in front of potential buyers when they perform a search in that search bar. So we want to make sure to optimize our beautiful children's book to increase its searchability, making it easier to be found. And we can do so via a number of different things, such as creating the best cover possible, by selecting the best categories, and by writing an optimized description, all of which I have created separate videos for. And one of these ways to further optimize our book is to select the best keywords. So optimizing our children's book will help us in 2 ways. First, it lets search engines categorize our book better and more easily, and lets them know what our book is about, and therefore helps with our book's discoverability and searchability. And second, it will help potential readers know that our book is what they have been looking for or searching for. Because if a potential reader is looking for, let's say, a book about monkeys and sees that there are monkeys on the cover and the word monkey in its title and the description of the book mentions monkeys, then they can be fairly certain that this book is indeed about monkeys. And keywords play a really important part in this optimization and should actually be used and integrated from the get-go throughout the entire book creation process. Now, what do I mean by that? Many aspiring children's authors don't really think in terms of optimizing their book, and they don't think about keywords. More often than not, the first time and the only time they ever think about keywords is during their book's setup process, when they are given the option to enter their 7 keywords over on KDP. However, it is my hope that with this video, you will see that keywords should actually be woven into the entire creation process, because there really are 4 main areas we can and should be using them, because these are the 4 places Amazon's algorithm looks at and uses to decide when and if to show your book to potential buyers. So let's look at where we should use keywords. Keyword use number 1 is what I already mentioned, our 7 keywords we can enter during the setup process of our book. Now, entering these 7 keywords is optional, it's not required. However, I want to encourage you to use them all, and to use them wisely. Each of these 7 fields can hold up to 50 characters, so again, make use of them. Keyword use number 2 is to use keywords in your book title. My clients and Children's Book University students often share their title ideas in their one-on-one feedback sessions with me. And surprisingly, more often than not, those titles do not contain any keywords. So a book about little monkeys, for example, would not have the word monkey in the title. But again, using keywords in our book title will really help search engines categorize our book, which in turn will help potential readers find it. So we want to make sure our title contains a keyword. If you're currently working on your title and would like help with this, make sure to use my perfect title formula resource. I'll be sure to link to it in the comments below. Keyword use number 3 is something I don't hear many children's authors talk about often, but is an essential part of my teachings in Children's Book University, and that is to use a subtitle. I always encourage the use of a subtitle because they provide us with yet another place to add a keyword. Most children's books, even in the traditional publishing world, do not use subtitles very often. In other genres, however, especially in nonfiction, subtitles are used heavily because they can really help potential readers see right away what the book is about, even without having to read the description. So to help my students and readers get this extra bit of an advantage to increase their discoverability, I always suggest to make use of a subtitle. And again, if you need help with this, make sure to use my perfect title formula resource. And keyword use number 4 is to use keywords in the description of your book. This can be such a powerful use, and I've actually created a separate video on that, so I will make sure to add the link to it in the description below. Now you may be asking, Evie, how do I figure out what the best keywords are for my children's book? Should we just guess? And that's a fantastic question. We should most definitely not pick our keywords based on guesses. Instead, we will want to do some investigative work. There are multiple ways we can go about this, and I'd like to share a few with you right now. Now, it's important to note that I never really rely on just one of these. I usually do a combination of them because the more I know, the better of a decision I can make. But before diving into the different ways of finding our best keywords, I wanted to share my number 1 ninja tip with you. And that is, when it comes to finding the best keywords for our own children's book, it helps to think of keywords not just as single words, but rather more like keyword phrases. So when trying to come up with the different keywords, always ask yourself, if I were to look for a book like this, how would I enter that into Google's or Amazon's search bar? So for example, if I'm looking for a children's book on monkeys, I wouldn't just enter the keyword monkeys into the search bar, right? Because that would be way too broad. I would enter something like Monkey Kids book or children's book about monkeys or something similar. And that in its entirety would be my keyword phrase. So not only do we want to include the best keywords, but the best and most used keyword phrases. So keep that in mind throughout the entirety of this video and during your own keyword research. Okay, the first way of going about finding the best keywords or key phrases for your children's book is to look at similar books. Looking at similar books is always one of the first things I do. You can do this in bookstores or any website that offers books. Here, I simply look at books that are already out there on the same or similar topic as my own book. Here, we want to make sure to disregard those books that don't have any or not many reviews. We are looking for books that are doing well. We want to look at the different keywords that were used for these books, whether that's in their title, their subtitle, or even in the description. And we will want to make sure to write them down. And if you see a word pop up over and over again, then that's usually an indicator that that's a keyword or key phrase. The second way of going about finding the best keywords or keyword phrases is to make use of Amazon's autofill function. I'm sure you've noticed that whenever you start typing something into Amazon's search bar, Amazon is guessing what you're trying to search for by providing different options in a drop-down box. Here, it's important to know that these are not just random suggestions. These are actual phrases that have been entered by other Amazon users. So these suggestions are really valuable in that they show us what people are actually searching for. So it's definitely something we will want to pay attention to. Now, an extra ninja tip here is to go into incognito mode when doing this research. This would allow you to browse privately and wouldn't take any of your previous search history into consideration. The third tool I use to find the best keywords for my children's book is a good old thesaurus. I use this all the time because this is where I can find fantastic synonyms that I may not have thought of myself. And so the way I usually do this is I find a synonym and then I go back to Amazon and enter that synonym into the search bar just to see what autofill options Amazon comes up with in the drop-down box, and also to see what books show up for this new word. And if relevant books come up during the search, I will want to write that new word down and add it to my own list of potential keywords or key phrases. The fourth tool I use to find the best keywords for my children's book is to ask friends and family. If you want to include your friends and family in your book creation process, this would be a great way to do so. Here, the way I would approach this isn't to ask for direct keyword suggestions, because most of our friends and family don't know about the importance of keywords and what we are looking for here, right? Instead, I would go ahead and say something like this. If you were to look for a children's book on, and then you insert the topic of your book, how would you search for this on Amazon? Phrasing it this way, you'll be surprised what people will come up with. It's your own perfect market research, especially if the people you ask have kids and also buy children's books. And the last tool, tool number 5, I like to use to find the best keywords for my children's books is an actual tool called Publisher Rocket. You may have heard me talk about this before in some of my other videos, so you may already know that this truly is my secret weapon. And just to tell you up front, this tool is not free, so you would have to purchase it in order to use it. But for me, this is my favorite tool because it takes all the guesswork out of our research, because we can simply type in a word that we think might be a great keyword, and Publisher Rocket will show us how often this word is searched for on Amazon, so there is no guesswork here. And this tool will also come up with a list of a whole bunch of other keyword suggestions we may have never thought of on our own. It will also show us other books that show up on Amazon when people enter that keyword or key phrase. And on top of that, it shows us how these other books are performing, meaning how well those other books are selling. Publisher Rocket does a whole lot more, which is why I created a whole separate video just on that. So I will make sure to link to that in the description below. I just wanted to add it and mention it here because I use it so much. So these are the 5 main ways we can use to really dive deep and find the best keywords and key phrases for our children's book, so we no longer have to just guess. Now, I also wanted to share my 3 main tips regarding keywords that I wish someone would have shared with me or told me when I first started out. My tip number 1 here is to think of your main character. What or who are they? If it's a dog, a monkey, a mailman, or a garbage truck, for example, we want to make sure to use this as a keyword or as part of a key phrase. This seems fairly obvious, but given that so many during my one-on-one sessions don't make what or who that main character is part of their title, shows me that this obvious keyword is often an overlooked one. Tip number 2 is to always name what you are trying to bring across or teach in your story, and use that as one of your keywords or key phrases as well. So for example, if your book is about patience or kindness or friendship, then you will want to make sure you are using that as one of your keywords or key phrases, and then weave it into your title, subtitle, and the description of your book. That's where using a subtitle comes in really handy, especially since placing it there will be your only opportunity to visibly convey right away what your book is about when your book shows up in someone's search results over on Amazon. And my tip number 3 is to know and realize that people's behavior changes, and so does their search behavior. While we can change our title and subtitle once our book is published, we are always able to change and update our description, as well as our 7 keywords or key phrases we entered when we first set up our book. And so I would recommend here to do so every once in a while, and that's also where Publisher Rocket comes in really handy here as well. Amazon offers so many products, so in order to really cater to its buyers properly, Amazon wants to make sure to put the right products in front of the right shoppers so that they become buyers. And so it relies heavily on keywords and key phrases. So using keywords and key phrases smartly and effectively will help us with the discoverability of our children's book. And this doesn't just hold true when selling on Amazon. It's the exact same for selling on Barnes & Noble, for example, or Target. If the marketplace has a search bar, the items offered and sold rely on the proper use of keywords. I hope you found this video really helpful. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't yet. It really encourages me to keep making free videos for you just like this one. Here's to finding your very own keywords for your beautiful children's book. Bye! A good old thesaurus. Decision. 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 Make a decision. Decision.